Okay, hi guys, Mr. Gallion here, and I am going to show you guys today how to do assignment 7.1 more dimensioning on OnShape. So there are 5 parts to create on this assignment. What I'm doing in this video is just showing you how to make each part. I'm not getting into the drawing parts of it yet. Right now it's just the making of it. So let's jump right in. We'll look at part 1. So part 1 here is this, I call it a chair. I don't know what you'd call this part, but that's kind of what I reference it as. And on part 1, each grid space is 1/4 of an inch. So what we're going to do to build this, the easiest way is to make kind of this left side of the chair, extrude it all the way through, and then cut out the notch at the top and cut out the notch at the bottom. So if we look at this, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares tall. So we'll jump right into OnShape here, and we're going to create a sketch. We're going to draw it like this. Make sure our lines are straight up and down, straight horizontal. We're going to make something like that. Now we can use our dimension tool. We said it's 7 squares. Each square is 1/4 of an inch, so that is 1.75 inches wide. And it was 5 squares tall, so that's 1.25 inches tall. And it is 2 squares wide there, 2 squares tall there. So this should be 0.5. This should be 0.5. And we've got that kind of L shape. So now I can finish that. Now we need to see how far to extrude it. Well, the width of this object is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. That's 1.25 inches wide. So now we can extrude this 1.25 inches. I should type something wrong. Yeah, I did. Okay, now we're good. I typed a comma instead of a period. So now we've got this seat part of the chair. Now we need to cut this notch out at the top. So if you see, this notch is 3 squares wide, 1 square deep, and goes all the way through there. So we're going to put a drawing right here. We'll zoom in on it. Put a drawing here. And again, we're going to dimension that. 3 squares wide would be 0.75 wide. 1 square deep would be 0.25. Now, one of the key things, if you look at this, if I were to just cut this right now, you'd notice this little notch would be offset. So we also need to locate that, or we need to dimension the location of the notch. It is 1 square away from each side. So we need to dimension the location from here to here is 0.25 inches. And now you see this one I don't need to dimension, but if I put a dimension there, you would see that it's also 0.25 inches. Now that thing is centered up. So I can hit my check mark, and I can extrude and change this to remove, and it will now cut out that top notch. All right, now I need the notch that would go down here. So now I look down here, and we see that that notch is also centered right smack in the middle of this thing. It is 1 wide, and it is 3 deep going back to the left. So now I can look at this, and I can do the same thing I did with the top, and I can sketch a rectangle here. Let me redo that. I think I messed something up. Let me redo, and I can sketch a rectangle here. And it was 1 wide, so 0.25 wide, and we said that was 3 deep, so 0.75 deep. Deep. And again, we want to center that within there. So, sorry, my cat is trying to play with me right now. So, we need to center that. So, we're going to go from this line to this line, and that should be 0.5. Now that piece is centered, and we can now extrude that and remove it just like we did the top one, and we are all done. So part 1 complete. All right, let's move on to part 2. Part 2 looks like this kind of, I don't even know what you'd call it, like a tabletop type thing. This one's fairly easy. We're just going to make this front view right here and just extrude it straight back. There's no other special stuff we need. So let's jump to Part Studio 2 to create this. We'll create it on the front. And basically all we're going to do is draw this and then go through and dimension it and extrude it straight back. So we're going to draw it, and you'll see it just kind of goes up, over, down, kind of that way. So let's go ahead and try drawing this thing. So if I start here, it goes up, over, down, over, down. See, I squared up with that one. It makes life a little bit easier in the long run. And then I'm going to check and see what I need to do next. Down, I need to go over, up, over, down, over. So I can go over, up, over, down, over. Now it's just going to take some dimensioning here. So it looks nothing like what it's supposed to, but once I dimension everything in, it should be fine. So this first line that I have everything made should be 3 tall, so that's 0.75. So I'm going to, let's see if I can split this. There we go. That makes life a little bit easier here. I can now see that as I go to dimension this. So now I have my dimension tool by hitting the letter D on here. So I could make that 0.75 tall. And then it goes over 2. So this line right here will be 0.5. And then it goes up 2. So this line right here that I have highlighted will be 0.5. And then it goes over 4. So this top tabletop part will be 1 inch. And then it's going to go back down 0.5, which it's already there. And then here, this next little part goes over 2. That's this part right here. It's not highlighting, but this part right here. So 2 is 0.5 inches. And now you can see what's happened over here. So let's look at this. What's happened is, if you could tell, this has kind of gotten tangled up, which is a common thing. And if something gets tangled, what I like to do is kind of Control Z. And I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to delete that dimension. I'm going to come back over here and fix it from this side. So we're going to go here. I'm going to hit dimension, and I'm going to fix this line. And now I'm looking at this part right here. And that's only going to be 0.25 because it's 1 square. And notice it pulls that in. And now I need to dimension this line here, the vertical one, which represents that. That's also 0.25. Now it's this long line in the bottom, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. So that should be 1.5 inches. And you can see how now this shape is starting to look a little better, and it's not all crazy and wonky as it was. It's getting a little cleaner. Going back down here, 0.25, it's already there. Now this bottom, like the bottom right side, 1 square is 0.25. And then the vertical going up should be 1, 2, 3, so that should be 0.75, which it is. And then we're back to this one right here, which should be 0.5, which it is. And now we've got this shape that we can go ahead and extrude through. So now we've got our shape made. We just need to extrude it, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep, which tells me that that is 1.25 inches deep. So I can extrude that out to there, and then I am done with that one. All right. Now, this one here, number 3, is where people start to get really confused. But 3 is actually not that difficult. It's one of those that it's just using a tool called Loft that a lot of you guys haven't used before. So once I show you guys how to do Loft, you're going to go, oh, this is actually a pretty easy one. So even though this cut, if you notice, angles back, it's deeper in the front than it is in the back. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by just making this rectangular box. So we're going to make a box, and we notice here the grid spacing is 1 centimeter. So we're going to make a box that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 centimeters wide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall, and 1, 2, 3, 4 deep. So let's just start with that. So 9 centimeters wide. Let's make get back to here so we have all of our tools visible. 9 centimeters wide. If I hit my dimension tool, I can type 9 centimeters. 5 centimeters tall. And then I'm going to extrude it 4 centimeters deep. Boom, box is done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this has all been working. Yeah, it's all been, making sure it was all recording okay. That's all I was just curious about. We're going to draw a triangle. So if you notice, this cut is triangular in shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle on the front. And this triangle, if you notice it starts, so if you think of the 3 points of the triangle, 1 point is here where my mouse is, 1 point down here, and 1 point up here. If we kind of put a dot where each of those points are and connect the dots, we can make this triangle. Excuse me while I sneeze here. Sorry. Cold season here in January. But if I put a dot where each of those are, you can really make this work. So these top 2 points, if you think about them, they are on that top edge of the box, and each of them is 1 centimeter from their respective corner. So if I look at this bottom one, this third point, it is 1 centimeter off the bottom, and you can tell it's also centered left to right. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4.5 centimeters from the left, 1, 2, 3, 4.5 centimeters from the right. So here's kind of how I look at this. What I like to do is I like to draw a triangle. And you can do it 2 ways. So I know a lot of people that will just put those 3 points in and then connect them. So they'll put a point, and they'll put a point right here, make sure it's on that line. And then they'll put a point here. And then they'll put a point down here. Right? And I'm just going to put this point. I know this is off center. I know these points, the locations are not correct, but I'm going to show you how you can make sure they're good. So this one, as long as you attached it to this top line, all you need to do is dimension from here to here 1 centimeter, and it puts that point in the exact right location. Same thing over here, 1 centimeter, puts that in the correct location. Now this one, we need to know how far it is off the bottom and how far it is from the side. So we're going to dimension off the bottom 1 centimeter, and we're going to dimension from the side 4.5 centimeters. Now I've got those 3 points. All I have to do, switch to my line tool and connect the lines. And I am done with sketch 2. So I've got a triangle on the front. Now what I'm going to do is flip around to the back and draw another triangle on the back that's a different size that'll allow us to cut to it. So if we look at the triangle on the back, let's look at those top 2 points again. Now we notice that this point right here where my mouse is, and again, you can't see my mouse very well, but right here is 2 centimeters from the side, and this point is also 2 centimeters from the side. And this bottom point is still in the middle, so it's still 4.5 from each edge, but it doesn't go down near as far. It only goes 2 centimeters down off the top. So what we're going to do here on the back, and again, we are looking at the back of this box, is we're going to put our points again. So we're going to put a sketch on the back of the box. We're going to put a point here, a point here, and again, just make sure that you highlight that top line and it sticks to those lines. And then we're going to put one right in there somewhere. Now we can hit our dimension tool again. This should be 2 centimeters from the edge. This should be 2 centimeters from that edge. This should be 2 centimeters from the top. And 4.5 centimeters from the edge. About 4.5 centimeters would probably make more sense than inches. There we go. Now we can connect the dots again. And now you'll notice we have 2 triangles drawn, one on each, one on the front, one on the back. And now what we're going to do, this is our last part, and then our last thing, and we'll be done with part 3. We can't use extrude for this. Extrude won't work. We're going to use loft. So there's a tool over here called loft, and loft will connect 2 parts on different planes or cut 2 parts on different planes. So we're going to remove, and I'm going to click on this triangle on the front first, and then I'm going to flip around to the back, click on that triangle on the back, check mark, and you'll notice it cuts it at that cool angle. All right, so now we are all done with part 3. With part 3, if you notice that something doesn't look symmetrical with it, if something's off, it's probably because you dimensioned something wrong with one of your triangles. You can go back into sketch 2 or sketch 3 and fix it, and the loft will adjust with it. So if you notice that, oh, this right here is way smaller than this, or oh, it's not going up as it goes back, then you can go back and make those adjustments. So now if we go to part 4, right? Part 4 is this one here, right? Way I've done part 4 in the past is I typically make this as one big rectangle here, and then I cut this edge off almost like a chamfer. And then I extrude out this, it's not quite a triangle because it's got 4 sides, but I extrude this out of it afterwards. So let's start with this. This whole thing, if I were to make this whole thing, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide, right? And this is in 0.25 inches again. And this part right here is 2 deep and 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I can't see right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tall. So let's make something here. So 8 wide would be 2 inches. 6 tall would be 1.5 inches. And we want to extrude it half an inch because it was 2 squares. So this is, imagine if you think of this as being in 2 parts. This is the back part, kind of what my mouse is on right here. This is that part. Now we need to cut off this little corner, right? So how do we cut off that corner? Well, the best way is to measure up. So if we think of this line right here, this angular line, we can come up 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a point right there, right where that spot is. So if we come back over here, and we'll make a sketch on here, and we can put a point, again using our point tool, right there. And we're going to put another point up there. And now we're going to figure out exactly how to dimension them. So the bottom one we said was 3, so that is 0.75 inches off the bottom. The top one, if we look at, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks from the far left. So that is 6 blocks is 1.5 inches. And again, now all we have to do, connect the dots. Now, in order to extrude this, we will need to also go up to the corner and over. So in order to extrude and cut out this edge, we have to make that a full triangle. That's something that a lot of students will forget to do, and they'll just try just making that line and then they get confused as to why it won't extrude. So you've got to go back up, make that full edge, because you've got to have a full shape in order to extrude something to remove it. So now we can click on remove. We can click on that, and we've gotten rid of that part. So now, as you can see, we've got this part right here. We just need to draw this other part onto it. And so what I do in doing this, again, I use my point tool. I'm going to put a point right here, a point right here, a point right here, and a point right here, connect them all, and then I can extrude that out towards me. So if we do that, we can make a new sketch, and I can put points here, here, and then in each corner. And now I just need to dimension them to the right spot. So this top point is 2 off the left. So that's 0.5 inches. This bottom point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off the left. So that is 1.25 inches. And then use our line tool to connect them all. And now we can finish that, and we can extrude that out towards us. And it was too deep, so we need to extrude at 0.5. And now we have shape number 4. So I'm going to leave off right there. Shape 5 is a little more confusing. I'm going to make a whole different video on shape 5, or we'll do it in class, one or the other. So I'm not going to add that in right now. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do shape 5. We might as well, just to add it to this video, just so that we've got it. I wasn't going to, because I was going to do that as a separate day's assignment, but we'll do shape 5 as well. So shape 5. All right, and this one confuses a lot of people because of all the edges that are rounded. And the biggest part that confuses people is you can't see exactly how tall this is very well because of the way that part of this is hidden. But with the way shape 5 is, what we do, we make the base, right? We make the base as a square, and then we fill at the edges. And then we make this vertical part as a square, and then we fill at the edges. And then we draw the circle and extrude it out towards us here. So we're going to start with the base. So the base, we think of it as a square. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares wide. Okay, each square again is 0.25 inches. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares towards us. So 8 by 6 and 2 high. So let's make a new part studio down here. So we said 8 by 6. So 8 is 2 inches. 6 is 1.5 inches. And we will extrude that 1/2 inch deep. So that is our base right there. All right, so we have our base. Now we need to fillet the edges here. So the back edges, as you noticed, are square. The front ones are filleted. So let's go ahead and just fillet the front one. So we'll just click on our fillet tool. Click on that edge. Click on that edge. And it doesn't tell you exactly what the fillets should be on this. We would assume that they are 0.125 inches because they're kind of half of what each part is. But if I do that, what you're going to see is they look really, really small when I do that. So, without them knowing, I don't care so much if your fillets are perfect because they don't tell you any dimensioning here to know exactly how big to make them. So I'm not too worried. If you left it with what it was, I think it was like 0.376 radius. If you left it there as the default, then you're perfectly fine. I'm not going to care either way on that. So now let's look at this vertical part that sticks up. So first off, we need to figure out how tall it is. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tall. All right, so 9 is going to be 2.25 inches tall. And the width of it, not counting these edges, the width through the middle of it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 1 inch wide, and it is 2.25 inches tall. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw a rectangle. And it doesn't look like a rectangle, but I'm going to draw a rectangle here that is 1 inch wide and 1/2 inch deep, because you can see the depth here is 0.2 or 2 blocks. And I need to center this. All right, so we got to center it. So to center it, we know this whole thing is 2 inches wide. If this is 1 inch wide, then it needs to be 1/2 inch from each side. So now it's centered. I can check mark it and then extrude it 2.25, just like we said. All right, did it extrude? Make sure it got the right 2.25. There we go. I didn't think that looked right. Now I know this doesn't look like the object in the picture here yet, and that's because we haven't added the rounding parts. So the first part I'm going to do is down here. So down here, you can see how this slopes and connects right here. Ours obviously does not do that. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a fillet. Now again, there's no dimensions on here to tell us exactly what this should or should not be. So I'm just going to increase this fillet until it looks like the picture. So it ends up being about 5 roughly. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Click on that one. And again, I'm eyeballing this because for the sake of this assignment, it's not going to matter. We're just trying to duplicate this part. So I eyeballed it. Now the base of this looks similar to what the picture does, right? Now the base part does. Now the top. So now here up at the top, we've got to figure out on the top how to make this round. So what we're going to do, and we got to also bring it out towards us. What we're going to do is we're going to make a circle. So we're going to make a sketch with a circle, and we're going to extrude it out at us here. Now, before we do that, what I like to do, and again, an easy way to fix this top part and round off the top part, fillet tool. Now this one, I think if I go 0.5 exactly, it looks really clean there. So now the top starting to come along, starting to look like it's supposed to here, right? But we need to bring this circle towards us, and it's even going to have a circle inside of it with a hole. So what I need to do, I need to sketch a circle on here, and I need to try to center it up. And so what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to see how I kind of found the center point of it, drop down to put my center point, and then what we're going to do is make our circle here. And this doesn't look exact. I don't think I made it to the right spot. But this circle, and it's this outer circle that we're making right now, is 1, 2, 3, 4 tall and 4 wide. So that is 1 by 1. So we need to make that 1 inch. And we need to make it 1 inch off, or need to make it half an inch off the top. And now we see that circle lines up perfectly. So now we can extrude that out, and it needs to come out 2 more squares. So another half inch at us. So 0.5. Now this is starting to look like it's supposed to. So the last things, we just got to put the holes. So all 3 of these holes are the exact same size. They are half-inch holes. So this one here is just centered smack dab in the middle of that circle. So I'm just going to put a hole there. I'm going to put a dot, a circle. I can just use a center point circle. And see how if I put my mouse over it, I can find the center of that circle. It'll automatically find it for me. So I can just do that. And then dimension that to half an inch, because those are half-inch circles. And then I can extrude that and remove it. And I can go, and it should be all the way through. It is. Okay, and then on the base, there's those 2 holes. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I just got to find the location of the hole. And so the center of this hole is 1, 2 from that edge, 1, 2 from this edge. Same with that one. So all I'm doing here is drawing a couple of circles. They both need to be the size of 0.5. And then location, they need to be half an inch from the edge, half an inch from this edge, half an inch from the edge, half an inch from this edge. And then I can just finish them, extrude them both through, remove them, boom. And there's that part right there. So that is now all the parts on 7.1. Like I said, I originally only meant to do the first couple, but that is all your parts on 7.1 and how to do them correctly. I'll put this on YouTube, and I'll tag it so you can jump to each part individually if you want to. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully this makes your life a little easier.